Hello, human designers. Welcome to 12 Blue Lines. I'm Isa Silver, human design translator, continuing my study of the Sun and Earth transits around the wheel. And this one is a very powerful one with the Sun in the gate of strength, the Earth in the gate of presentness. And not only are they a polarity, but also a life force. What does that even mean? Well, you can join me in contemplating it. I've been there for a few years. What I'm seeing as I'm looking at it right now is, well, the 34 is the only asexual gate in the sacral center. And you see how it's not feeding the power column, it's not feeding the material way, and it's not taking care of the tribe. This is not tribal, this is a self empowered channel. And maybe we're already sensing this. Well, maybe you've noticed that gate 34 has been in transit through several planets recently. I'm pretty sure they're all retrograding. I still don't understand what we might understand about retrograding planets in human design, but it shows up on the charts and I'm paying attention. But this channel of activity, as it's called in 64 keys, it is part of the background frequency starting in 2027. So we're already feeling this strength and presentness as the nature and the pattern for humanity. And what is it replacing? Well, in the past 400 years, the nature has been focus, logical focus, a sacral gate, like response energy to focus on the details, while skills have been the pattern, focus and skills. And what's happening to focus and skills lately? Have you noticed how the facts don't really matter so much anymore? How anybody can put out their video and put their power out there, or how the politicians are seemingly becoming quite brazen about uh, how their power is what's important. I'm right here now saying this. It doesn't matter if there are facts that are contradicting what the politician is saying right now, if the politician is saying it with strength right now. And a lot of humans like that, the self empowered nature of strength and presentness, compared to the, shall we say, the nerdy people who focus on details and work with skills. Um, where are these going to go in humanity? I don't know. But in any case, let's get back to the present, shall we? And we'll just get right into the details of the two gates, but keeping in mind that these are the lines for the gates alone. And when they're in a channel together, something different happens. It's not just that shallowness plus intimidation makes first line activity. There's something more going on there, and I don't have the words for it yet, but I might get there someday by studying these words. Or is this just completely out of style? I don't know, but hey, intimidation. It's the basis of strength, the foundation of strength. And the blue line is to display power as a response to frustration. You're in my way. I'm going to intimidate you out of my way. On the other side of that, theoretically balancing it out, is the shallowness of the present moment. Shallowness that accepts slogans. Superficiality raised to an art form. It feels good sometimes. A simple slogan that seems to really mean something, but does it really, or does it just sound intimidating? Well, what does the second line do? That's always quite different. Momentum. Momentum when success is in sight. The natural at strength. Of course, there's a paper tiger to that. On the other side is dogmatism, dogmatic expression, and selective understanding. The natural at being in the now is going to have a narrow view of the now. Now, the third line of strength, machismo, it's a display of power that can be delusional, but it's a natural display of power. I mean, it really is there, but on the dark side of that, it can be perceived as a threat. It can be a fake. It can be like showing off a peacock's tail, the machismo of strength. But in the third line of now is self-consciousness, self-conscious analytical perception. Trials and errors with being aware of the present puts you in a position of being aware of yourself and how you bump into or materialize or experience the now. Strong keynotes, eh? The fourth line is triumph, the freedom to use power in triumph. On the bright side, Pluto, the ability to display and use power, but at the same time restrain it in such a way that its legitimacy cannot be challenged. You know, there is strength in machismo, but you can just call it stupid machismo and therefore, take it down a few notches. But here, the fourth line in the bright side of its expression, it is not going to be challenged. But of course, there's a dark side to that too. The fourth line here, brought out by Mars, it's ego gratification through the unrestrained and ruthless use of power, which inevitably leads to abuse. As the perpetrator or the victim, I'm not sure about that part of the description. Let's see what happens on the other side, utilization. The fourth line, utilization through conscious cooperation. The fourth line, who is aware of the sharing or the externalizing in the now. The shadow there is the tendency to prefer theory to application without really using the awareness, that fourth line shadow. But the bright side is the great teacher who supports their students in turning intuitive insight into action. That is the great teacher there. So, what happens when we get to the fifth line here? Such a strong word, annihilation, the elimination of resistance through power. So, wow, how often have you interacted with this, I wonder? Because I have a gate 20 and I have received this, and it is impressive and also just stupid, to be honest. The shadow here is power for power's sake, the need to always release and display power, even when completely unnecessary. The heretic of strength. You don't need to go that far, dude. But some people are locked in that. I met somebody yesterday who has three of these, and he seems so mellow. But yeah. Well, what happens at the 20? Realism. Realism with the awareness of details. Because to be realistic, right, the fifth line wants to put the message out, to universalize it, to serve the collective, or rather, perhaps maybe the collective is looking to projecting upon the fifth line that they have the awareness, and details are necessary to really get that message out. Now we'll go to the sixth line. This is where we'll be in a couple years. Is it yeah, the nature of humanity The background frequency brought by the 3420 will be reason. That's nice. Kind of a contrast to annihilation, just a little bit. And here, it's the wisdom to restrict the use of power. Like, I'm over it, the sixth line aloofness. On the bright side, it's the wisdom to not overexert oneself in the release of power when one does not have the strength to maintain it. Knowing when enough is enough. I didn't know that a sacral gate could learn that, but hey, maybe we are going to experience this. On the shadow is the headless enthusiasm for a release of power. It leads to premature exhaustion and a loss of one's energy midway. The sixth line who doesn't know when enough is enough. And what does gate 20 do for us on the other side? Wisdom. Wisdom and reason. Oh, aren't these nice? The wisdom to apply understanding. The sixth line is seeing the whole individual circuit and seeing where the wisdom of understanding can be applied. The shadow here in Mercury is a satisfying of the ego by making dogma and demanding application. But the bright side of this line is the wise ability to transform individual awareness for general application for the benefit of values and ideals. Ooh, that sounds so nice. So we could say that wisdom will be the pattern, where in recent years, centuries, skills have been the pattern, but it will be that strange sixth line wisdom of the now that will find us in a couple of years, or maybe it's already here. And now, for those of you who are not aware that I am doing two podcasts these days, this video one with this educational style content, but then I like to dig into the Rave I Ching by Ra Uruhu and deliver that without visuals, and you can find that on Stay Human. Hope to see you there. Wishing you a very peaceful, satisfied week of activity. And remember to let yourself remember that these 34s are not really in you, but you might ride a wave of energy this week. I know, I hope I do. All right, until next time, bye for now.